To quit coffee or not to quit coffee? This is a question many people ask themselves, even those that are on the carnivore diet. And if you need a reminder, coffee is plant-based. So what should you do? Should you quit coffee or should you keep drinking it? Well, I have very interesting reasons for you why you may consider quitting coffee. Welcome back to Big City Mom channel if you are new here. Hi, my name is Sylvia. Carnivore diet for a while and you started noticing major improvements in your overall health, but your sleep isn't as good as it could be, or as other carnivores report it is. Or maybe your digestion isn't as perfect and you still have a heartburn. Well, if you're drinking coffee, you might have to have a closer look at that, and whether you like it or not, you might have to quit that coffee as well. Coffee can ruin your stomach acid secretion, and I learned it the hard way. For many years, I was practicing intermittent fasting, at least 5-6 years. And so one way to hack it is to drink coffee on an empty stomach. No milk, no sugar, just plain black coffee. It gives you that boost you need, and it suppresses your hunger. So to skip breakfast and wait till 12, 1 or 2 o'clock is really not a big deal. And if you do it long enough, it will be perfect. Like skipping breakfast, it will be like nothing. So 16, 18 hours intermittent fasting regimen, very easy. And so I was doing that for a long time. And after some time, when I had my coffee, I started experiencing heartburn and this ridiculous bubbly sensation on top of my stomach, as if though bubbles of air wanted to come out, and I had this urge to burp, but I couldn't quite do it. Well, what happened was the coffee is so acidic that it makes your stomach lazy and your stomach stops producing its own acid. And this flap that we have on top of our stomach, called esophagus, will open up if the acidity of your stomach is inadequate. And so about 20 minutes after I drank coffee, I would start experiencing that heartburn and the bubbles that wanted to come out but couldn't. That was the low stomach acid. And the solution to my problem was super easy and super quick. The first day I stopped drinking coffee, my problems with heartburn and this weird urge to burp went away. Just one day without drinking coffee. All right, what about coffee and sleep? It is probably the most widely known side effects of coffee, that it can interfere with your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. But not for everybody. Some of us can have coffee 3 hours before bed and fall asleep just fine and wake up relaxed and refreshed. And some of us, myself included, can have their last coffee at noon, and if it's really strong, I'll be up at 4 a.m. tired but wired. So why is this happening? It turns out that it has to do with our genetics, how quickly we can metabolize caffeine. Some people's liver produce more enzyme CYP1A2 than others. And so it is frequently referred to as half-life of caffeine, which means how quickly you can metabolize half of the caffeine you ingested. So let's say you drink coffee at 8 a.m., it's 400 milligrams of caffeine. People that secrete a lot of that enzyme, let's say in 3 hours, will reduce the amount of caffeine in their system to 200 milligrams. But somebody like myself that does not produce that much of this enzyme will go on 8 hours to reduce the caffeine amount to 200. And then it will take another 8 hours to reduce it by another half. So at midnight, I will still have 100 milligrams of caffeine in my system. Is it any wonder then that I cannot sleep? I'm sure there are expensive tests you can perform to find out how much of that enzyme your liver produces, but I think most of us by now, meaning getting older, have a good idea how much tolerance for caffeine you have. I know for myself, even if I have weak coffee late in the day, it will affect my ability to fall asleep and have a restful sleep, and the next day I'll be tired, looking for more coffee, and so that vicious circle will never end. So I just decided to bite the bullet, quit coffee, and I do enjoy really deep and restful sleep. Alright, this one's for the ladies, and it has to do with our fertility. Unfortunately, you won't hear much about coffee consumption and fertility unless you start seeking fertility treatment. Whether you go to the allopathic doctor or seek alternative medicine treatment for fertility, all of these professionals will tell you to stop drinking coffee. It is a consensus among the fertility professionals that overconsumption of caffeine, which is over 400 milligrams of caffeine a day, will contribute to early miscarriages. Now, we don't have good studies about that, but there is also a thought that caffeine can have negative effects on the quality of eggs. One study that was conducted that is oftentimes brought up is the fruit fly studies, where they treated fruit flies with caffeine, and fruit flies started having fertility issues. Obviously, I understand that connecting fertility of fruit flies to human women is not quite equivalent, but I'll tell you something that I know from my friend's experience, who was dealing with fertility issues for many years. She's been through lots of IVFs, different types of IVFs. She was being treated with diet for infertility, acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, you name it. She tried it. She traveled many different parts of the world to fix her fertility issues, and in every of her treatment she was told to stop drinking coffee. So if I were to give an advice to my younger self or to other women that are in their 20s and thinking of having children in the future, I'd say err on the side of caution when it comes to fertility in coffee consumption. You are probably better off to restrict the coffee drinking habits or just drop them altogether. Your overall health, especially fertility, will be better off. Let's talk about anxiety. A lot of people on the carnivore diet will report that their anxiety levels went down significantly or went away completely. But not all of them. So why would that be? Well, we know that some people are especially sensitive to coffee, and one of the side effects of coffee consumption will be anxiety. And even being on the carnivore diet will not help it. And the reason for that is the same enzyme deficiency in your liver that does not allow you to metabolize caffeine fast enough and let you fall asleep. The same deficiency of that enzyme will cause you anxiety. I was one of those people as well, and I never made the connection, and I was always saying that this was work stress, and my anxiety manifested in this way. When it was a stressful day at work and I had to get a lot of stuff done, I would probably have a little bit of extra coffee. And within 20-30 minutes, I would start getting this nasty pain in my neck and shoulders. And I was jittery, I was super anxious, and I was just stressed out terribly. And my work environment didn't change, but when I stopped drinking coffee, that stress and tension and pain in my neck and shoulders never appeared again. And to make the matters worse, this pain would carry on for the rest of the day. In fact, I would have trouble to fall asleep because of the pain in my neck. So I would typically go to acupuncturist and take care of it this way, and that would happen on a pretty much regular basis. I never made a connection that it had to do with coffee. And when I stopped drinking coffee, those neck pains and shoulder pains never appeared again. And I also didn't have to go back to the acupuncturist to deal with this. And last but not least, let's talk about coffee and autoimmunity. Coffee is high in lectins, and lectins are not so good for people with autoimmunity. Lectins are those pesky plant proteins that tend to increase gut permeability, go into our bloodstream, attach to our tissues, and our immune system then reacts, causing inflammation and pain. So if you're addressing autoimmunity, especially if you're in the beginning phase of reversing of autoimmunity with a carnivore diet, you are better off not drinking coffee at all. Not every person with autoimmunity responds exactly the same to all kinds of different lectins. So a lot of people that were able to reverse autoimmunity with carnivore diet will tell you that they continue drinking coffee and they were fine. And so if you're one of those people, you can probably continue drinking, but also there is some hope for those that had problems with coffee. There are some steps you can take to eliminate or greatly reduce amount of lectins in your coffee, and I will make a special video about just that. So these are my reasons for quitting coffee. I think they're good reasons, and whether you are on the carnivore diet or not, you should consider them. And if you are really sensitive to coffee, a lot of professionals will recommend that you drink no more than 50 milligrams of caffeine a day from every other drink. Other drinks have caffeine as well, which basically equals 12-ounce decaffeinated coffee. Keep in mind, caffeine is an insecticide. It is a chemical produced by the coffee plant so that the bugs don't eat it. It literally paralyzes the nervous systems of the bugs. So in other words, it is a nature's phytochemical. Now, it can be used for therapeutic or medicinal purposes, and it has been by many traditional medicines. In traditional Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda, caffeine is treated as a compound that inspires movement. And it is true, because if you have constricted blood vessels in your head and experiencing headache, caffeine can be used for that. It is a diuretic, it can help you with constipation, or it can improve your physical performance when you are exercising. However, you cannot be consuming coffee on the regular basis. If you habituate your body to get 200 to 400 milligrams of caffeine a day, the therapeutic or medicinal benefits of caffeine will be basically diminished, as it would happen with any other phytochemical that you consume on the regular basis. Personally, I'm never going back to drinking coffee. I'm totally happy with a 8-ounce cup of decaf coffee when I feel like having something bitter to drink, and that 20 or 30 milligrams of caffeine in it is just more than enough for my body. All right, this will do it for this week's video. If you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with anybody that is thinking about giving up of coffee, and I will see you in my Friday findings. Bye.